Welcome back to another video. Ever wondered why the rich keep getting richer while the poor struggle to break free from financial constraints? Well, the simple answer lies in their investment decisions. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into how the poor invest versus how the rich invest. If you want to learn the ways of the wealthy and potentially join their ranks, you better stick around till the end. Let's start by exploring the fundamental differences in investment strategies between the rich and the poor. The wealthy have a broader perspective when it comes to investing, and they're not afraid to look beyond their own backyard. While the poor often limit themselves to familiar territory, the rich cast a wider net, seeking opportunities in both developed and emerging markets. Rich investors understand that diversification is key to building and preserving wealth. They don't put all their eggs in one basket, instead spreading their investments across various asset classes and geographical regions. This approach helps them minimize risk while maximizing potential returns. On the other hand, poor investors tend to stick to what they know, often focusing on a single type of investment or staying within their local market. One of the most significant differences between rich and poor investors is their attitude towards risk. The wealthy are more willing to take calculated risks, understanding that higher returns often come with higher risk. They're not reckless, but they're not afraid to step out of their comfort zone either. Poor investors, however, are often risk-averse to a fault. They cling to the little they have, afraid of losing it all, which ironically can prevent them from growing their wealth. Another crucial factor is the mindset towards learning and adapting. Rich investors are constantly educating themselves about new investment opportunities and strategies. They stay up to date with market trends, economic indicators, and emerging technologies that could impact their investments. Poor investors, on the other hand, may be less likely to seek out new knowledge or adapt to changing market conditions. The wealthy also tend to think long-term when it comes to investing. They understand that building substantial wealth takes time and patience. They're not looking for get-rich-quick schemes or overnight success. Instead, they focus on steady, consistent growth over years or even decades. Poor investors might be more prone to chasing short-term gains or getting discouraged by temporary setbacks. One area where the rich excel is in leveraging professional advice and networks. They're not afraid to seek help from financial advisors, accountants, and other experts who can provide valuable insights and guidance. They also network with other successful investors, sharing knowledge and opportunities. Poor investors often try to go it alone, either because they don't think they can afford professional help or because they're not aware of its value. Rich investors also understand the power of compound interest and start investing early. They know that time is one of the most powerful tools in wealth building. By starting early and reinvesting their returns, they can take full advantage of compound growth. Poor investors might delay investing, thinking they need to wait until they have enough money, missing out on years of potential growth. Another key difference is the approach to debt. While poor investors might see all debt as bad, rich investors understand the concept of good debt. They're willing to use leverage strategically, borrowing money to invest in assets that have the potential to generate higher returns than the cost of the debt. Of course, this strategy comes with risks, but when used wisely, it can significantly accelerate wealth building. The wealthy also tend to have a more holistic view of wealth creation. They don't just focus on traditional investments like stocks and bonds. They look for opportunities to create multiple income streams, whether through business ventures, real estate, or intellectual property. Poor investors might rely solely on their job for income, missing out on opportunities to diversify their income sources. Rich investors are also more likely to invest in themselves. They understand that their knowledge, skills, and network are valuable assets. They're willing to spend money on education, personal development, and experiences that can help them grow both personally and financially. Poor investors might view such expenditures as unnecessary luxuries rather than investments in their future. Another important aspect is the attitude towards failure. Rich investors see failures as learning opportunities. They're not afraid to make mistakes because they know that each failure brings them closer to success. Poor investors might be paralyzed by the fear of failure, preventing them from taking action and seizing opportunities. The wealthy also tend to be more proactive in their investment approach. They don't wait for opportunities to come to them. They actively seek them out. They're always on the lookout for undervalued assets or emerging trends that could lead to significant returns. Poor investors might take a more passive approach, waiting for the right time to invest, which often never comes. Finally, rich investors understand the importance of protecting their wealth. They use strategies like asset protection, insurance, and estate planning to ensure that the wealth they build is preserved and can be passed on to future generations. Poor investors might not think about these aspects, focusing solely on accumulation rather than preservation. In conclusion, the differences between how the rich and poor invest go far beyond just the amount of money they have to work with. It's about mindset, strategy, and approach. The good news is that many of these principles can be learned and applied regardless of your current financial situation. By adopting some of these strategies and shifting your perspective, you can start to invest more like the wealthy and potentially change your financial trajectory. Remember, building wealth is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, discipline, and continuous learning. But by understanding and applying the investment principles of the rich, you can take significant steps towards achieving your financial goals. So, start thinking like a rich investor today, and who knows, you might just find yourself among their ranks in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.